Hello, welcome. My name is Mane from Kata Studios, the co-founder of CaterGraphix Academy. Today, I'm happy. I won't say I'm happy. I'm excited to be teaching you the core value necessary in making a good lettermark or monogram logotype. This course is divided into 3 sections. The first level is illustration, which you can use any tool at all. Illustrator, CorelDRAW, Affinity Designer, GIMP, your Pixel Lab, and your mobile phone. We don't teach tools here. We teach you the core principles of design and you apply it with your creativity and you get your results, okay? So in this level, we'll be crushing every of your difficulties in making monogram or lettermark logotype. The second level will be dealing with mockup and mockup presentation. Here we'll be teaching you how to publish on different platforms and which format of or size of image to publish on these different platforms. The final level is a new introduction. Since in every of our new Design Lab version, we introduce a new feature to it. We are adding a video feature which will be teaching you a video transition for your logo, for reels, and for shorts. So without wasting time, I'm officially welcoming you to Design Lab 5.0. Without further ado, let's get to work. So as you can see in the screen, we have an abstract or iconic logotype, and the style used here is called the negative space. We have a course on the negative space, and we are introducing a new and more advanced version of the logo negative space logotype design in the future. Possibly in one of our Design Lab class, we'll be dealing with that. But for today, let's get into what we have. Now, this particular overlay in monogram or lettermark, I call this the counter overlay. I call it overlay and counter overlay. Okay, what this means is that for the D and R style to exist in a way that the both will be recognized, they both must have to lose a particular part. As you can see, the D is losing a part to show the part of the R, and the R is losing a part to show the part of the D. That gives us the style that we call a monogram. So I'm going to explain this in the future with a very simple illustration, and this looks like something like so. Let me show you closely. So this looks like something like so and not like so, okay? This is an overlay and this is a counter overlay. When something is above the other and in a way that it is intertwined with that particular other element or stroke or particular layer, it's called counter overlay. Now the next example as we have here is not a counter overlay. This one I can call this the unite overlay. Unite overlay means that it is overlaid but in a way that it looks like these two texts or these two fonts or these two alphabets are the same. Okay, they are the same, joined together, but still creating that visibility that these are two different elements. So as you can see from here, this is joined. The D is having a kind of stroke because of the style extruding from this part, a kind of stroke from itself, and the L is joined with the D from this part and having a kind of outline from the edge and outline from the D from the bottom part. The outline only happens at the back of the L from here, but doesn't happen in the front part of the L. And the outline happens at the bottom part of the D, but doesn't happen at the top part of the D. Check out the number 4 version of this. As you can see from here, I'm going to show you 2 problems you might fall into. Okay, now with what we have here, this is a counter overlay. As you can see, the A, but the counter and unite at the same time. This is a counter and unite overlay, which we never had in the previous versions of monogram logo we just explained a few moments ago. As you can see, the A doesn't have any particular stroke from the back side. Let me zoom closely. Okay, the A doesn't have any particular overlay from this particular edge, but it have a stroke. I will call this an outline from this edge, but it doesn't have an outline from here. It have an outline from here, and that is just it. The G is overlaying or on the A from this particular part, the back part, but the A is overlaying to the G from this other part, and the A is not outlined from the back of the G, but outlined from the front part of the G and other edges of the G. So this is called a counter overlay and a unite overlay. Now this is a problem you may face creating some kind of concept in monogram for your designs. Okay, now one of these is when you are trying to resize an element. You see the problem we are having. Okay, now we are having 2 problems here, one of which is that the shape is changing the style. The shape thickness is not proportional to the size it is increasing to, and this is not good at all. Okay, so to avoid this problem, what you are going to do is simple. Make sure you find the transform tool. If you can't find transform tool, head over to Windows. Okay, Scroll down until you find the transform and hit on it. You are going to find this particular tool. Once you have the transform tool, make sure you enable the scale and the scale stroke. Scale corners and scale strokes, okay? Scale corners will make sure the edges stays the same no matter what size you increase it to, okay? But scale stroke will make sure the strokes remains proportional to the size it is. So if it is increasing to a size of 100 pixels, the strokes are going to maintain the size of that particular 100 pixels and not remain the same as it's scaled higher. Let me show you example of what that means from my edge. So we are going to disable that particular feature and we duplicate this and we're going to expand this and we keep this at the left corner and we are going to apply the style, okay? Click on this and enable the corner stroke and the scale stroke corner, okay? When we expand this, just imagine what happens. It maintains the same size. Now look at the stroke size. It is proportional to the size, so which means if the size of the element is increasing, the size of the stroke will be increasing accordingly, okay, so that there will be consistency in the design. That is what those features are. So enable them before you proceed, because most of your work you'll be making from this end will be more on stroke. You see the edges are still maintaining the same circle curves and the stroke is proportional, is according to what it is. But here, the stroke size is still the same as it is when it was in a lesser pixels. So that's one of the things you need to know from there. Now, let's start to understand this particular simple arithmetic or principles behind making a monogram. I'm talking about the counter, overlay, and how to work around them. Now, this is what we have. We are going to draw a stroke, a line above this and draw another line above this. Okay, we are going to use a different color this time around. Let's use red, or let's leave this as black. Okay, we are going to use a different color in our new stroke that we are going to overlay this over these two. Okay, and this color we are going to make it red this time around, so we see what we are doing actually. So these two lines are cool, okay? These two are cool. Now, if we want to overlay this particular element over this other element, simply we just click option and we bring this to the front. Arrange, bring to the front. You see what we have from here. So now practically we have this overlaid, this element overlaid, this red color overlaid on this particular element at the back, and we have the black, which is the brother of this one, overlaid on the red element, which means we are having a counter production here. Now, let's add a stroke to this. A stroke of white. Let's add a stroke of white. And let's make sure the stroke is show option. You can use the show option to add more options to your stroke styling. Okay, so now we added the stroke layer. You see that the stroke layer, as much as we can add, is affecting only the element at the bottom part. Let's pull this out. Okay, it's affecting only the element. Let's change the stroke color. Let's change the stroke color so you guys will understand exactly what is going on. Let's just go a little bit gray. Okay, so let's just leave it at white. I think white is okay. I don't like that gray. It doesn't match with the background at all. So fine, as you can see, this is overlaying on this other element. Simple principles, but the issue is that it's not overlaying here. When we send this to the back, arrange, we move it to the back, send to the back, you see that it automatically have that overlay on it, the stroke overlay on it. That is the same thing that we are facing here, the same issues or the same situations we have over here, for the fact that this one is actually stroked out. Okay, now since we understand this, let's place this above this, arrange, and bring to the front. Now this is, we could only do this arrange, bring to the front because we have these two elements, the one at the top and the one at the bottom, separated. Now what if in cases where these two elements are same? Let's check if this enabled too. Cool. So what if in cases where these two elements are same? Let me show you an instance of what I'm talking about. So let's take this to be a stroke. Let's make this a stroke. And we curve the two top edges. Fine. So let's increase the stroke size. Fine. So now we have the stroke size and we want to pull this red color, the same red color we made here. We want to pull it into this particular part. We want it to have the counter, same counter overlay. So let's make it come to the front. Transform, arrange, bring to the front, and we have it overlaid here. But if we want to place this part, we want this part to be at the top of this particular edge and this other part to be at the bottom part. We can't do it because when we select this and send this to the front, arrange, we bring to the front, everything comes to the front because this is the same element, and that is the same issue we are having from this part, because this particular text is the same element and this particular one is the same element. We can't separate it from the other. Now, what is the trick? What do we do here to make this work? Actually, what we need to do here is to do the styling I call the counter overlay. It's very simple, okay? Now, look at what we are going to do. First off, we are going to convert this to be a shape, not a stroke. Okay, to do that, get into edit, scroll down, okay, get into object, scroll down until you find the expand, click on expand and click on enable this to and click on OK. Just see what's happening there. Click on OK. Automatically, this is a shape now, not a stroke. And a typical example of that is when you draw a box, this is actually a shape, not a stroke. Okay, but when you pull it, look closely here. When you pull this particular element to be at this part, it automatically converts this to be a stroke and no more a shape. If you want to convert it to be a shape again, you can pull it to this particular part. Okay, that's different between a shape. A shape is a filled color. A stroke is a stroked edge. Don't know what other word to use for that. So now we are back to this. We are going to make sure that the red is overlaid from the left, but at the right, the black is overlaying on it. And to achieve this, like I said earlier before now, is very simple. Now, what we are going to do, first of all, we convert this to a shape. We can still leave it as a stroke, but I want to make this as simple for beginners. We convert this to a shape, and we are going to duplicate. So to duplicate an element, just simply hold the Alt key in your keyboard and drag out the element. This is for Illustrator, okay? So when you duplicate this, just place it above the element again, okay? Just as it is from there. Now, what you need to do is to simply bring it above this other element, the red one, okay? So click Option and Arrange, bring to the front. So we have two elements here. Let's check from the layer panel. Okay, so we have the first element, which is the grouped one. Let's delete this two. We don't need this so they don't feel distracted. So we have the particular first element, which is this at the top, okay, layer, and this is the one at the back. This is the one we just duplicated now, and this is the one at the back, this one here. And this rectangle is the line, the red line at the middle. Okay, so we have a middle element, we have an element at the back, and we have an element at the front. Now, why I'm giving in all this, why I'm teaching you all these simple principles is because this is the difficult part of it. I'm not just going to rush into teaching you logo design, and if I don't teach you these particular parts, which are the core principles, you can't do much with your creativity. You can only do what I asked. But this time around, with understanding this, it becomes more easier for you to walk through all of those lines. Now we have it duplicated. We notice that when we remove this, we are going to see this line, this stroke, but we want this stroke to apply this part at this part, and this particular part to have its own different stroke. How do we achieve that? Simple. Select under element, use whatever eraser tool you use to erase this part of the element at the top. Okay, and once you erase it, you have this particular style from here. Now we have this style from here. Simple. This is for beginners. I would have gone with the stroke format, but it will be more complex for you to do. But I'm using this particular format so that any tool you have, you can actually deal with that tool. So now, since we have erased this part and we see the stroke applying from here, and if we pull out this line, we are going to see that we have this particular part erased and this particular element still as it is. So the one beneath is untouched, untamed. The one above is the one we are destroying right now. Okay, so now we have that. We have this particular element at the back. Now, what we need to do is simple. We are going to use the rectangular tool or whatever tool you could. Select this part and measure. We are going to remove the stroke. We don't need the stroke. Can make this black. Okay. Measure the parts here that we have the stroke, the part of the stroke. Okay, just measure the size, whatever size you have as a stroke from here. So whatever size you get from there, we are going to rotate it in this particular part, like so. Okay, and place it at this edge. And also do the same. Let's just make sure it is at the edge of this. You can see what I'm doing. And make sure it is the same with what we have from here. And now we are not going to select this element at this particular part. We're going to select this element from this particular edge. So we're going to select the red, select this element, and select this other element. The red, this other element, because we want to cause a stroke here, making it look in a way, making the viewers see this as though this is actually stroking from this edge. You get the point. So once we selected that, we are going to cut out this particular element on the red. To do that, select on the shape builder tool from this edge. When you select on the select that, you hold the Alt key and stroke your line from there, and stroke the other one from here, and we actually have what we want. So we now have the same size. Extruding, this is what we call a counter overlay. So now when we pull this out, we have this particular shape as it is. When we pull this out, we have this shape kind of destroyed in a way that it is still assumed that it's still the same shape, just for the fact that this particular shape is at the top of this edge. I hope you get the simple trick, and that is how we are going to create our logo. So let's get into making our first logo for this particular course. So for this particular course, I'm going to use a logo I made for a client's Perfect Forms. For this, it's two logo actually. Choose one. So the one that is not chosen, we are going to use it for an example for now. If you want to see the website, check in the description of this video below, perfectforms.com. You're going to click on that. You can see the website we have named. By the way, I'm using this opportunity to introduce you to our course or web design course. If you want to learn web design, it is just $410 or 70,000 naira. Okay, for now, at the moment of recording this video. So let's get back. We are going to create this logo, and the simple principle, another principle you're going to learn here is you are going to use mostly ligature fonts to make a good lettermark or a good monogram logo. You're not going to use some kind of a serif font, but ligature fonts makes perfect example of a good monogram logo type. So I'm going to show you how to find good ligature font. Let's just get into that before we come back here to deal with our concept. So to find a ligature font, just search for ligature fonts, hit on enter, and we are going to find it. Ligature is L-I-G-A, okay? So now we're going to find lots of ligature fonts. For some people, you may just hit on a link here to get in and start, searching. You can still do that from here. Click on any link and start searching for any ligature font of your liking, okay? We have lots and lots of ligature fonts, okay? So type in the two initials, the first word and the second word, and you can search through and see what particular font fits best for you. The second rule here is that you must not use the same font for the same design. You might use two fonts, one for the first letter and a different font for the second one, to make sure things match. I'm going to show you an example of that. But this is not how I search for font. This is how I search for font. When I type ligature font, I click on image. Now we're going to see all the samples of ligature font we want here, and we're going to see the name. Like this one is Maglite. You can click on it or click on Maglite font. You can search here. Maglite font, okay? If it's a free font, you can download it. If it's a pay font, you then have to pay for it, okay? Maglite font, make sure you go back to all, then you can see it from any font type, and you can purchase it, or you can click here and then you can purchase the font, or possibly if it's a free font, you can get it for free. As you can see what you can do with it. You can click on download if you can find it for free. If you can't find it for free, you can purchase it to support the people who created the font. So this is how I find fonts. I type ligature font, or I type serif font, or I type sans serif font, and I get to the fonts on visual. Why I do this from Google Images is that I get to see the concept that I can make with it. I get to see how this design, how this font feels like before I get into downloading them. Okay, as you can see, you get to feel the vibes, you understand, before you get into start downloading the fonts. So this is how I do it. Any font I get, I then search for the name. If it is a font I have to pay for, I pay for it and use it for my client's work. And let's take, for instance, let's assume that we've gotten the font we want for the Perfect Forms. Let's click on and let's get to do our design. So for the first one, we are going to use a font called Voyage for P, and I'll make sure this first one is capital letter P. And the font we are going to use for this is Voyage, the bold version. Okay, so we expand it like so. And the second one we are going to use for F, for forms, I think this should be capital letter 2, and that is okay, okay? And that is it from here. And the issue we are having here is because this is a small letter, we have to change this to a capital letter, okay? Fine, so we have it there. So these are the two fonts we are going to use for this particular tutorial. And for the best practice, we are actually going to make sure the size of this at the top side is equal to the size of the F. And to achieve that, let's just draw a line at the top side of the F and make sure we keep that constraint. So make sure this is pulled at the edge. Let's reduce the size a little more and pull this up a little like so. Seems we might not be able to get that. Even if we get that, we have to erase some parts here. So good. We have this particular styling in a way we want, so we can pull this out. Then we can work on this particular part. Let's just pull this down a little. So fine. So now this is where we can start doing or making our styling. But before we get into that, we have to convert this text to a shape. Select on edit, and click on expand. Select on object and click on expand object, and we are good to go for that one. And we'll do the same thing with the other elements. So fine, we have expanded this part, but bear in mind that the F is at the top of the P. So here is where we start doing further styling this. So for here, let's try to play around with this particular edge. Select on this part, and we're gonna curve it like so that it doesn't intersect that much with that particular element. So now we've converted this to a shape. We can, style it the way we want to make sure everything stands in place. Put this down a little more, and let's put this down a little more. And we are good to go from here. So since we are done converting this to shapes, we can start making our counter overlay. So for the one at the top, we have established the understanding that this particular element itself is above the P and the P is beneath the F. So what we're going to do here practically is to cut out an edge from the P that will make it assumed that the P is above the F, whereas the F is above the P. Because if we are cutting out the edge from the P, it is still assumed that the F is above the P. But we want to make it assume that the P is above the F. So what we do here is to cut out a part from here. We can do that with the pen tool. Okay, select the pen tool from over here. Okay, the pen tool can also be called curvature tool in some other version, higher versions. So we are going to pick out from here. Sorry, use the pen tool from here. Okay, we're going to pick out from here, pick from here, pick from this edge, and pick from this edge. Just cut out that part. Then go closely, use your curvature tool to curve that edge a little. Okay, make sure you go to view and disable the snap to pixel so that you can actually make this the way you want. So fine. Now we have that. Let's draw it closely to this part and do a little more tweaking to it. We want to make sure it is respecting the same edge from here. So now we have that. Select the elements we placed above and select the P shape. Use your shape builder tool, hold the Alt key and erase this part. So we have that part erased and we are good to go for that particular angle. Okay, the next part is making this erased part for the F shape to make the F actually now look as though it is above the P. So now we are still going to do the same formula, use the same formula, but this time around, let's just pick from this edge, pick from this edge, pick from here, and we pick from here. We just jam it from here. Use the curvature tool and curve the edge to make sure it flows. The idea is that we want to make sure this flows. Let's just change this color to white so you can see what is going on here. So the idea is to make sure that this flows with the shape of the F. Okay, so let's go closely and we are going to curve another edge from here. Let's pull this down a little more and this a little more. So let's see what that look like if it's nice for us. I think this is cool. Okay, I think this is fine. This is cool too. This is cool too. Okay, one thing we can do is when we select on this edge and select on this shape and we use the shape builder tool to remove this part, so we can practically select on that particular edge, then point on this edge and curve it like so. Okay, so we can do this, but this look a little bit wacky. I don't think this is a nice concept at all. So this time around, what we are going to do is we're going to pull this out totally. Let's create another shape. Okay, create a shape from here to there and another shape from here to there. And the important thing you need to know is that the space you create, whatever shape space you create from this edge must be the same you create from another edge. So you're not going to give an outline of a 20 pixel in another part and you're giving a different outline for 30 pixel in another part. There won't be consistency in your design. So I just want to make sure you understand that. I'm using this as an example so we don't need to go into all of those little details. So So when you curve this like so, and you curve this other part like so, like we did in the previous one, okay, to give that kind of cognizance or unity between these particular two shapes. So curve it a little more and we are good to go. So select on it, select on the shape you want to build, and use the shape builder tool and erase it from that part. So now we have a good style from here. Okay, next is just to add an aesthetic to your design. So this could be a star, this could be a crown, whatever, but for this one we are going to use a crown. Like you see from other ones, we used a star. From this one, Do Luxury, we use a star and a dot, but this other one we are going to use something else. We're going to use a crown. Okay, because there is a base at the top of the P. Don't use elements from where you know that they can't match. As you can see from here, the Do Luxury, there's an empty space here, that's why we are using a star here. The Dress by Ruby, there's an empty space here, that's why we are using a star. This other one, there is no empty space, you are not using a star. Even if we must add a star here, it will be at the bottom part of here, or add a crown at the top part, because there's a flat layer here to do that. This other one, we have an empty space at the bottom, we can add a star from there. So this one, we don't have any empty space, so no need of adding stars anywhere when it's not necessary. So we are going to add a crown from the top side. To create a crown, that's very simple. Hit on an edge, hit on another edge, hit on another edge, hit on this edge, hit on this edge. I think this is the middle, and I think this is here and this is here. I'm just trying to play around, okay guys, so don't kill me for this. So we can create a shape. Let's just place a shape like so, and we are good to go. Okay, make sure it is still the same size or space from here. Can just add a little bit of curve from the edges. Okay, add a little bit of curve, just a little bit of curve to make it look smooth from that particular edge. So we have our design completed. The essence of most monogram is not focused on the name, it's focused on the icon, which is the name initial. So we are focusing on making this look this way. The icon, you could make it in a way that the name will go around the font heading and the body. I'm trying to tell you what they're going to do from the level 2. Okay, the name is going to go around the, I'm going to show you instances when we can come to that, or the name could be at the edge, or the name can be at the bottom part. Like Do Luxury, you see as the name is at the bottom part of the particular iconic logo type. So now in this particular one, we have this settled. Now this is how you can present your work. After you're done with your project, this is how you can simply present your work. Okay, can possibly create a new layer, possibly in Illustrator or Photoshop. When you're done with that, make a black element. You can lock this up. Then what you need to do is to import the element, your logo itself, drag it into Photoshop. Okay, fine. So now we have it in Photoshop. This is the black one we want at the top. This is to make it more easier for me to review you. Okay, we place another one at the top of the black, but this time around we are going to convert this color to white, or whatever color, whatever bright color, I mean, not whatever color. So we have black and white. This is how you are going to present your work. Export it, send it to the group like so. So this is how to submit your assignment in the group. Okay, more description will be below this video. Do have a wonderful day.